Hello everybody to this first real episode of the Devlog. In this video I'm gonna talk about a few things. Firstly, as you can see on the screen, there's a time-lapse of me putting together everything, every door in the complex. So this is the first thing I'm going to do today. I'm not gonna go over it in great details, obviously, because it's very repetitive, and I'm just going to let you enjoy the time lapse of me just putting every single door in every single doorway, and I haven't put buttons to open and close every single door yet, because it's very tedious to do so. Probably maybe later in the video I'll do that. But the main focus of this video will be how I made and I'm going to make interactable computer screens using sub-viewports, and it's important that I get this right, because it's going to be kind of the main focus of the gameplay, because I've decided that the game is going to be very reading heavy and how do you say, management heavy, basically. It's going to be a lot of looking at graphs, looking at text, making decisions, and I'm not sure what kind of decision yet. I don't know what kind of graph you'll be looking at. I don't know what kind of text you'll be looking at, but it's going to be a lot of, interacting with computer screens in the game, right? So I need to get it right. So the first thing I have to do is make it so that it is a very modular thing, so I can reuse it easily and all over the game, and I need to make it easy to use for me. And for the player, obviously, I need to make it appealing, right? So, the footage is gonna switch pretty soon to another time lapse, a time lapse of me struggling to make a computer screen in Blender. This is the model I'm gonna be using for the computer screen itself. It's pretty simple. I don't really need to go too deep into it, because it's just a computer screen. I modeled it after my own computer screen, so it looks decent. I like the way it looks, because I had a reference under my eyes. So yeah, that's pretty much it about that. So I'll leave you with the time lapse, and I'll come back to explain the code. Alright, so I hope you enjoyed those time lapses, and but we're gonna we are going to get into the meat of the meat and potatoes of the video right now. So as you can see, as you saw right before the time lapse, modeled a computer screen. So here it is. I'm gonna show it to you in a better way. Oops. Here it is in game. The normal's kind of fucked up for the for that, so I'm gonna correct that later. But for now, it's work well enough. So I'm going to show you what it's supposed to do, and then I'll show you how I've made it work, and then I'll do maybe a little demonstration of what I want the overall game to look like later. So I'm going to start the game and I'm going to show you what it does. Okay, so we're in game now. Let me show you. So this is the computer screen. As you can see, it emits a little bit of light for some realism, right? There isn't much to see on the screen just yet because it's something that I'm going to have to make as I go on, and as I decide what I want the game to look like, right? And the gameplay loop to play like. So, but right now I'm just doing the basics right now, right? So, when you approach the computer, you can press E to interact with it, and it's going to zoom in into the computer. So, there isn't much, obviously, there's just a test button, but as you can see, it acts exactly as a Godot control, and that's exactly what I want to do. I want the computer screen to act like a 2D representation of something that is a Godot scene, right? So basically, I could add any Godot scene that's 2D, and make it happen on this screen, and the player could interact with it pretty easily. So it makes it that I can make very complex things without having to create new menus, right? And also bind them to a very specific place. So for instance, if I want to create a terminal in the engineering room where the player can, I don't know, like change the energy levels attributed to heat, to air, to things like that, they have to go. The player would have to go to the engineering room, use this screen, and from this screen, using controls that I've made, they could do whatever they want. So I think it's a really fun way to do it, right? And it's a fun thing to do, and it's way too hard actually, but not because it's particularly complicated. I'll show you later how I did it, but because I'm stupid, and I'll explain to you. So for now, you can press escape and continue on your merry way, right? There isn't much to do with it. I'll demonstrate how I can make it do things and interact with the rest of the world later, but this is kind of just to show you. Right now I'll go into the code and show you how I made it, right? Okay. Alright, so we're in the Godot editor right now. So how did I do it? So it's pretty simple. Honestly, it uses it's mainly based on the Godot demo that talks about how to make 2D GUI in 3D. So quite honestly, I just took this. Maybe I can show you, right? Actually, Kyih. So yeah. Never mind. You're going to open the project, the Godot demo project that I copied to do this. Don't mind the other projects. I'll put the link of this demo in the description for anyone interested. But basically, what it does is exactly what I did. Rather, what I did is exactly what it did. It's create this. So I grabbed this panel. I removed this. I'll show you a bit more what I did to the subviewport. I moved it away. I added the computer model to it. I did a few other things like adding the light and adding a camera. So I'll show what I did. So this is pretty simple as well. It just takes 3D events that happen in the area 3D of the panel, and it translates the 3D coordinates and it pushes them in the subviewport where the mouse, among other things, can interact with what's in the subviewport. So it makes a pretty good use of subviewports, which is exactly what I wanted to do, but it's a bit complicated to do from scratch, and thankfully they had the Godot development team as a whole demonstration up on the GitHub that I will link in the description. So I'm going to go back to the main project and show what modifications I did to this to make it more appropriate to my main project. Okay, so because for my game I'm going to need a lot of different computers that do a lot of different things, I can't just have one computer that I copy and paste again and again, and where I make a new scene every time and recreate every single time every single element here, right? So what I did is I took the viewport out, where I just have the skeleton that works, and I just need to add a viewport to it with anything in it, depending on what the computer does, and it does it. Basically what I did is instead of using the linking here the viewports in the scene tree, I just added an export. So this is not because the GUI panel 3D is not like the master of the branch, right? I just had to put the exports here so that it's easily usable, but just know that this export is linked to this variable. So basically this is like an export but lower down the branch. And I did a few things, right, that to make it work, so that because what they did is they took this quad and on the surface the material override, they added in the albedo texture the viewport, but I can't do that because it's outside and I don't want to make it make the children editable every time, because it's quite annoying and makes the project a lot more messy. So what I did is make it in code that this node, viewport node that is exported, right, just is applied to the texture. This is, I mean, that works. It's a pretty ugly line, but it works, so whatever. I added, so yeah. As for the rest, I added the light. Yeah, that's it for basically what I did with the sub-viewports, right? And I'll show you how it's applied in the main area later, but quickly I'll show you. I added a light, I added a camera, and one of the things that I struggled with the most is the freaking camera. Basically, I added everything working like that several times, and I thought it didn't work because there would be some sort of like offset between what the mouse would be pointing at and what it would the effect it would have on the control, right? And I thought for the longest time that it was just a problem with the transforms of the quad or whatever, like really annoying things. And what I realized is that because the camera 3D in Godot basically from the start uses a perspective, it doesn't show on the screen, but basically this type of projection the camera uses is very important, because it means that if you use a perspective projection, the closer you get to the screen, and depending on the FOV, it's going to completely ruin this. So when you're just using the main camera of the character and it works for some reason, but when it's that close with larger FOVs, it creates an offset between the actions of the mouse and how it affects the controls. So what I realized, like way too late, honestly, it's been 2 days as I'm recording, is that I can just switch the perspective, the projection to orthogonal, and the way the orthogonal works is it does not deform to make it look like a real camera lens, and it's like the projection of the camera is one-to-one with what it sees instead of acting like an eye, and it's completely solved my problem. And honestly, I almost gave up on that idea until I realized that. So yeah, to anyone who's trying to do this, check your camera projection. It may be the problem. So anyways, how does it work in the real game? So here is a camera screen node, a computer screen node. It's just the name of this. I don't know why it's called computer screen, but probably because of the other tests I did, right? How does it work? Basically, what I do is I just add a subviewport, the GUI, and whatever it does under it, right? As a child of the GUI, and which is a child of the subviewport, and I can basically do anything I want with that, and it works just like any control in the world. So I can demonstrate how it can interact with the world quickly. I just want to mention the reason why it's pink is a limitation of the way I work with it, making it modular with the subviewports as an export of the script. It does not. It only works at the time when it's the ready function of the computer is ran. So it does not work in the editor, or if it works in the editor, I don't know how to make it show up. And this is, I mean, it's a bit annoying, but because I can just click on the subviewport node and show what it should display, I mean, it's whatever really, because it's only in the editor. So that's yeah. So what I'm going to make it do is to show you how it interacts with the world. Basically, I can just attach any script I want to any of these nodes. So really, you can make it do pretty much anything. But what I'm going to want to show is that, and what I did to test it, right, is to make to link the pressed signal of the button control, and link it to one of the sliding doors. The sliding doors have a function that's called switch state, which basically closes it or opens it depending on the current state. This is the function I use for the buttons that are next to the door, right? I connect it, and when I start the game, hopefully it works. I haven't tested for this implementation yet. I've done some tests before where it worked, but basically what it does is when I click the button, a door opens, and if this works, I can pretty much do anything in the game. So it's just what I can come up with is the only limitation to this implementation, right? So let's try it. I clicked it, and the door did not. Never mind. The door opened. I just didn't see. So it's closed. I click it. It's open. I just said it closed, but yeah, whatever. It switched the state of the door. So it works. I'm quite happy about that. I was kind of scared for a second because I couldn't find the door, but it's. I mean, the environment is not done yet. When there's gonna be lights and stuff, it's gonna be easier to find your way, right? So yeah, and also something I'm going to have to work with as well is that shortcuts for the buttons in the control work also outside when you're not looking at the screen. It's going to be pretty simple because I have a variable, a boolean, that tells me when the player is looking at the screen. What I'm going to have to do is disable shortcut usage when the player is not looking at the screen, so it's pretty simple. But for now, shortcuts work, so I can just press the shortcut for the button and it just switches the state. I mean, it's a problem. Clearly, it's an issue, but it's pretty simple to solve. And honestly, I've been working at this for the entire day, so I'm going to do it later. So I think it's going to be it for the video, to be honest, because as I said, I've been working on this for 2 days at the time of recording, and it's really killed me. It's knocked the wind out of me pretty heavily. So I'm going to think about what I want to do with this. Obviously, I'm not sure. And I'm going to come back in the next devlog, maybe a bit later, because I'm going to go back to college pretty soon. Actually, probably by the time this video come out, I would have been back to college. So I'm going to have a lot less time, but I'm going to try and make it work, obviously. But yeah, by the time of the next video, I'll probably have a few ideas of what I want to do with these technologies, this implementation, right? And that's what we're gonna do in the next video, probably. So thanks for watching. Bye bye.